Hey everybody, Travis Bowman here. I'm a retro video game enthusiast and fingerstyle guitar player. I'm joined by my two cats and Adam Koralik, who is a veteran YouTuber, one of my favorite YouTubers actually. I've been watching him for quite some time. He's been doing this for like 15 years. He's one of my inspirations for being on YouTube doing video game stuff in the first place. So first of all, dude, welcome and thanks for being here. Appreciate that.
Veteran is a very nice way of saying old, but he's not wrong.
Yeah. We're not that far off.
We've got kitties.
We do have kitties, and they're just well,
They're doing kitty stuff.
they're doing kitty stuff right now. So I'm just legitimately fascinated with your story
Okay.
to see it from the beginning and see where you are right now.
All right.
You fly a lot.
I do. I even have a travel channel for that purpose.
Yes, that's true, and it's just amazing to me to see you come from just a dude that's
Yeah,
like
no, I'm
a
definitely a dude.
total nerd that's just into yeah, one of those guys to
Actually.
being this level of professionalism of getting to fly and represent all of these different companies that make all the video games that we grew up with, and it's a really cool story. So let's start at the beginning. We should jump into that. So let's start at the
Bye,
very
kitties.
Bye kitties. Take us through the process of you getting started on
Okay.
YouTube.
So I am OG on YouTube. I'm a dinosaur. I've been there for a minute. But basically, YouTube started in 2005. I started making videos back in 2009, so kind of in its infancy. But it wasn't really for making video game purposes. I went to film school at Columbia College Chicago. I graduated. And, at the time, we had access to this new thing called YouTube or YouTube. I still don't know how to pronounce it exactly. And so we thought, okay, let's make content and just try to introduce ourselves to people. But the things we were trying to make was like film trailers and short films, like the stuff we had produced in college. And while that was fine, that was really hard to build an audience because of how long production would take, especially with the tools we had access to at the time. So I thought, kind of naively, you know what, we should just kind of make extra content just to kind of garner an audience. Not understanding that you can't do that because the audience you garner for one thing will not be the audience that's interested in another thing. Like for example, if I had an entire channel on cars and all I did was talk about cars, and then one day I switched it over to like hamburger reviews, they'd be like, I like hamburgers, but it's not what I'm here for. It's whatever. So anyway, I started making kind of really easy to produce video game content because I'm a huge collector, always have been. So I had tons and tons of stuff, and I started just making little videos, particularly about the Sega Dreamcast, being like, all right, this is the unofficial racing wheel by Madcast, which I'm pointing out because he has it right over there. But I did do a video on that thing. And so just make videos and that kind of stuff. And that brought in a certain audience to the point where we were having enough success, and I say we because there was a few of us, who just decided that we should just kind of focus on more video game stuff in general. And then that led to different directions, like integrating comedy into it. So I was working on one channel for another point, and then I was eventually over with Machinima and doing stuff over there, just making tons and tons of content. And that leads up to now where I'm still doing this channel. But as he points out, over the time, I started seeing successes in unexpected areas. Companies like Ubisoft, 2K, and eventually even Sega would reach out and be like, hey, we need a guy to do a thing. Do you want to do the thing? And it would usually be like, do you want to come out to X, Y, and Z city in whatever country or whatever and play our newest game and get footage and then go back and make videos with it? It's like, yeah, that's sweet. I know it's very truncated, but essentially that's a lot of what was happening. Also, conventions and stuff would be like, hey, do you want to come out and be a guest at our show? And so as a result of that, I was constantly on the road, constantly flying around, doing stuff. And to the point where I still just kind of do that, for, not always video game stuff. Sometimes it's just for fun. Like this dude's like, you want to come down and hang out with me? I was like, yeah, let's go hang out.
That's literally how this happened, by the way. It was a right place, right time thing. I was sitting here watching one of his videos one morning. I was like, I'm going to email that dude and see if he wants to come down here and do some video game hunting videos. Because that's something that you often do a lot on your travels, So I was like, there's video game stuff down here. And within like a day, you were like, yeah, that's cool.
Well, the funniest thing about that was I was supposed to come here anyway. I was supposed to come to Little Rock like a week ago at the time of the recording of this video because I was working on a separate series for my travel channel. And that happened to require that I come here to see the presidential library of Bill Clinton, just see everything that's going on down there. And because I needed to do that, I was about to, then I had to cancel it because I had a different video take priority. And he emails me the exact same day. He's like, you want to come to Little Rock? And I was like, thank you, universe.
Yep.
Everything just kind of falls into place sometimes. And when it did, I was like, all right, that's much better, because originally the plan was I was just going to fly in, grab an Uber, go to the library, do my thing, and then go back to the airport and go home. But in this case, it was like, oh, I'll spend a few days down there. That's much better.
And we've had a blast.
Yes,
we really have had a blast. There's lots of good video game stuff down here, and there's lots of history down here too. So. Okay, so we got to talk about Shenmue. Yeah, we need to.
The games,
the game, because you are like the world's biggest Shenmue fanatic.
Okay, so let's talk that. So he mentioned integration with video game companies and all this other stuff. So a few years back, Sega reaches out to me directly, trying to get a hold of me to help them with the Shenmue franchise. However, that's not exactly what I assumed it was going to be. They basically couldn't get a hold of me initially because they were trying to DM me through Twitter. I had my DMs locked, so they couldn't actually do that. So Sega's official account starts messaging me publicly, be like, hey, can you unlock DMs? We really want to talk to you. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, did I do something? And now Sega's about to send me a cease and desist. Like, I have no idea what this is at the time. And so once I unlocked it, we were talking for a minute, and they're like, hey, we're working on a project we think you'd be really helpful for. And I was like, you're re-releasing Shenmue? They're like, we have an NDA. If you would sign that, we can further talk. And I was like, nah, that's what you're doing. And they're like, please sign the NDA so that we can talk. And I was like, all right. So I signed it, and we go back and forth and everything. And they were like, yeah, we're re-releasing the game. We would like your help making some videos and kind of making promotional content, because you clearly know the game very well. We'll bring you to Japan. So I got to go out there again, which was really funny too, because they're like, do you have a passport? Are you willing to go to Japan? I'm like, yeah, I just got back from there like a week ago. And they were like, well, this is awkward because we want you to go there next week. I was like, that's cool. I got to go to Australia in between, though. And that actually happened. And so I was just constantly going around somewhere. And then they were like, what we want to do is, the first game takes place in an area of Japan south of Tokyo called Yokosuka. And they're like, what we want to do is we want to take you to that area and film you just seeing it, and enjoying it for the first time. I'm like, well, I've been there 4 times, including 2 weeks ago. And then they were like, okay, so it'll be you showing us what the it's like, which is what ended up happening, because funny thing about that, so it was all the European guys. They all wanted to go out there from Sega Europe, and myself. I was the only American. Every other person was British specifically. And they were like, yeah, when we all get there, there's going to be, a Japanese dude who's responsible for us. They'll take us down there. They do all our translations and stuff. And I was like, I really don't need that, but okay, whatever. And the morning of that we're supposed to do all this, they were like, all right, we're ready to go. I'm like, there's clearly no Japanese person in this entourage. And I was like, where's our Japanese guy? They're like, oh, they quit on us, so we're just going to do this on our own. And I was like, okay. And they're like, now how do we get there? And I was like, you guys don't know? And they're like, no. I was like, well, use your phone. They're like, none of us have service here. And I was like, okay. So I had service. Because I take my phone every travel all the time. And I had been there multiple times. So I literally got this entire crew of Sega out to Yokosuka. And then we just filmed the whole thing with me being like, okay, yeah, that's that. All right. And okay, let's go. And I'm like, ooh, I've never seen that before. Even though I had. But that's, you're just doing what you're doing. No, it was, and that was a lot of fun. And that was just one project. We ended up doing so many other little projects here and there, and I got to stick around and be involved in a bunch of stuff for a number of years. The pandemic, though, and I wish one day I'm going to tell these stories on camera. The pandemic really sucked because there was so many things that Sega wanted to do for their 60th anniversary.
Oh, and they just couldn't.
Year, they couldn't do. One day I will tell those stories. Not yet, but one day.
Yeah.
There was some cool stuff.
Well, as a musician, I've had the opportunity to travel and obviously play music for people, and that's why I go. But it's just so fascinating to me to see somebody who's just a freaking nerd.
Oh, yeah, no,
just a nerd. But you've got a very high level of professionalism in your videos. I'm going to toot your horn for a little bit.
He's also lying because I don't.
No. I mean, that's another fascinating thing to me, is that your videos are very simple. Not to insult you.
It's not.
I mean, it's worked for you, obviously, but that's always something that's really kind of tickled me, is that I've
You're
inspired.
saying I tickle you?
You tickle me, yeah. You definitely do. So I'm heavily inspired by the guys at My Life in Gaming because of the
Corey and Try.
Corey and Try, yeah. Their quality of videos are just amazing, and they've been said like they're the PBS of video game stuff, and they're very successful. And then we have Adam Koralik. PBS. That level of information quality.
Government funded. Okay.
Yes, government funded, that kind of stuff. But then we have Adam Koralik, who is just sitting in front of a camera, and there's like no cuts, if any cuts. There's like maybe 2 or 3, but you just get through your entire videos in one take, and then that's it.
Pretty much.
And that's fascinating to me, because I make mistakes all the time, and I have to go back and correct them. But you have this this.
True. This is like the sixth take of this interview.
Yeah, it is. But you have this like superhuman ability to just have a topic, and I'm assuming you never use a script.
No.
You just ad lib, and you're so good at it to the point to where you've got this speaking thing down. You could be a politician.
I do public speaking. That is
there you
not.
go. There you go.
I'm surprisingly good at eulogies. I know that's dark, but it's true.
It's pretty dark.
I've been told I'm pretty good at eulogies.
I could see that.
And I was like, all right, I guess that's a weird skill.
I could see that.
No, public speaking. Actually, you want a story? I'll tell you a story.
Tell us a story.
Public speaking story. So a number of years ago, I had a gig out in Sweden. Yes, I had a gig in Sweden to do video game stuff. And while I was there, I was hanging around with a few people from that crew. And there was this woman, I'm not going to say her name because I don't want to out this, but basically she represented WB Games Montreal specifically. And she was like, hey, what are you doing this October? And I was like, well, I have a convention I'm going to, but aside from that, I'm relatively open. Why? She's like, there's this new thing coming up, and I think it was Unity, the graphics engine, hadn't launched yet, but they were going to do some sort of keynote speech. And she's like, we want to have you, oh, hello, welcome back. We want to have somebody do a keynote speech for 4 minutes that just kind of explains what it is, and we think you'd be perfect for it. And I was like, okay, what does that entail? She's like, well, we'd have to refine very specifically what you can say and all this sort of stuff, but we'd fly you out to Los Angeles and you'd give this like basically a 4-minute speech on stage, whatever. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Does it like pay anything? She's like, this is real. She said this. She's like, you get $20,000 for 4 minutes of speaking. And I was like, what? And I did the math. I'm like, that's like, I don't remember what the numbers were, but it was like, this is how much you get per second.
A lot of money per second, yes.
And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, yes, I'm in, let's do this. And she's like, so technically I can't just give it to you. I have to get the board of directors to sign off on it, but I can't imagine they would have a problem with it. And I was like, this is awesome. So I thought this was gonna happen. And then she comes back, she's like, yeah, they shot it down because they want a woman. And she's like, I find it really insulting because the board of directors is 12 men saying we need a woman on stage. I'm the woman in charge and they say we need a woman. So she's like, I think we need a man. But like anyway, the point was I couldn't do it. And I was like, oh.
Oh, that's really depressing.
But that's, I guess the point there is if there's a certain level of public speaking criteria, if you have that sort of skill set, it's amazing what kind of doors that can open and accidentally almost open. My career would largely be defined by, well, I fell into that.
Okay.
That would be the way to say it. But all I'm trying to teach you, if you learn anything from this video, public speaking, there's a reason that is considered such a significant skill, and why he says that politicians get as far as they do because they're very good at it. And I think it's an old Jerry Seinfeld bit where he talks about, the number one fear in this world is public speaking, and number 2 is death. So if you go to a funeral, you'd rather be in the casket than doing the eulogy.
Right.
But I've always found myself, I know this is going to sound a little morbid, I've always found myself enjoying the eulogy part.
Well, it's not that you enjoy the morbid part, but you just enjoy being that guy. This task has been assigned to you.
Yes, I enjoy being capable of standing up there and giving an audience something. Something that they're going to be engaged with. And in that context, it would be, helping them grieve or whatever the situation is. Helping them laugh is obviously far superior.
Right.
Or informing, education, whatever the context is. All I'm trying to say is public speaking is an incredibly useful tool.
You are a huge collector.
So I'm told.
You've got a lot of stuff.
I do have stuff.
You got a lot of stuff. We got some stuff just the other day.
Yeah.
So what's fascinating, and you probably won't remember this at all.
Nope.
But the first interaction I ever had with you was on a comment on one of your videos. I don't even remember what it was. But I was like, hey, Adam, when are we going to see like your game room tour?
Oh, this question.
When are we going to see like your collection?
This old chestnut.
And your response was simply something along the lines of, whenever I'm done with YouTube.
That is correct.
I'm not satisfied with that answer.
Too bad.
I want to know.
To elaborate?
Yes, elaborate,
okay,
please.
So I do come from an older senior class of YouTubers.
Yes.
Back in the day, everyone did those like new retro gaming channels whenever they would start, because there was a lot of people who would just start with whatever camcorder or whatever they had access to, and they're like, what do I have? Well, I'll talk about my favorite game for one video. Here's a review of the PS1, which there's 1,000 videos like that. And then they run out of ideas, and they're like, here's my game setup. I've got Dreamcast over there, and I've got some controllers, I've got Virtual Boy. They would just do the whole thing. And the second they did it, that video would do well, and their channels would die. because the second they did that, then this was a different, criteria at the time. But basically, everybody wanted to see your game room. That's what everybody always wanted to see. And as soon as they saw it, they were lost interest in you. They're moving on to the next guy. And so my mentality was, A, I don't want to do that to my channel. And B, I didn't exactly stop collecting. So no matter what I produce a video on that's called My Complete Collection, it will be out of date within the next day.
Yeah.
I literally do a video series every single month with new content, with new items I've acquired. So as I maintain, it'll be my last video. So the day you see that in your feed, it means that I'm not doing videos anymore after that.
I understand.
No, you still want me to do it.
I still want you to do it just because I want to see it.
He wants my career to end, is what he's saying.
No, I don't want your career to end, but
he does. Plus, if you think about any good TV show, they have to have a finale episode.
Sure.
That's a finale episode.
And the TV show collectively is not good unless the finale is.
Yeah, then everybody hates it. Everybody hates it for everyone. Remember how badly that ended?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
I don't want to be like that. But he wants me to be like that.
Yeah, I kind of. Yeah.
He wants my career to end. He's like, so here we go. Here's some dramatic stuff. I'm going to torpedo your career with this video.
So one thing I've always been extremely jealous is the fact that you've been to Japan like 600 times.
21.
21 times.
I'm going there actually in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that'll be 22.
So you get to go there all the time.
Yeah.
And Japan to me is just collectively this mysterious, really cool place.
Hey, so this.
Yeah, where video games are born and where they come from, right? So, you've got a lot of videos on like Hard Off and those those types of stores that are really, really interesting because they just have all sorts of really cool video game stuff at really, really good prices. That has changed though because of people like you.
Yeah, it's my fault. Sorry.
It is definitely your
fault.
fault.
But I got mine, so I'm good.
Yes. And so what I'm saying is that people would go over there and find those games at really good prices and make video content about those. And that's infinitely interesting to people like me who have never gone to Japan. But now, fast forward to the present, it's not the same. The prices have gone up. And like I said, it's your fault.
It is
not solely.
No. I'll take my blame where it's actually mine. The thing is, I was doing that for years before it became a problem. Here's what killed it. Pandemic. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you this firsthand because I remember going there before that. The first time I went to Japan was 2017. So oddly, I've been going there regularly almost for a decade, which is really weird to think about because it means you've been there long enough. You've actually seen how the waveform went. But basically, pre-pandemic, the Japanese considered everything in those stores to be garbage. This requires a little bit of context. The reason you ever buy something from Japan and it comes in like really good shape and it was listed as like bad condition or whatever?
All the time.
Okay.
All the time.
There is a reason for that. That's not just a cultural thing. That's actually circumstance stuff. So in Japan, are you aware it costs money to throw away your garbage?
Yes.
You did know that.
Yes,
most people would not. Like,
mm-hmm.
So if you live in the States or most Western countries, I'm sure you have a waste bin in your mm-hmm. house and then you throw it out like in a big container in front of your yard or whatever. And that's like a public service in this country.
Right.
Tax funded technically, but not such an ancillary amount of money you wouldn't even consider it. In Japan, their garbage is weighted specifically, and they are sent a bill for that. Thus, your goal in Japan is to have as little trash as possible. So, what do you do if you have some video game console you bought and you don't want it anymore? Well, there's not really any value in selling mm-hmm. it. It's not really worth anything. You certainly don't want to throw it away because you don't want to pay money to lose on it. So what you end up doing most of the time is you neatly put it away and just wait for some other time to deal with it.
Right.
Largely what happens. The other thing is Japan doesn't really have a retro gaming scene. Contrary to what you think, it's just that they're not in the habit of throwing away their history for that reason. But since they themselves aren't that interested in their own retro content, it largely just sits. So the tradition was, eventually you run out of space in your home and you go, what am I going to do with that old Virtual Boy box? I'm not going to throw it away. That was dumb. I'm not going to pay to get rid of it. Fine, I'll take it to Hard Off. They'll give me like $2 for it. That's just the gas money to get over there. And then there's some element of community service with not mm-hmm. creating more pollution, right? But that's about all it ever was. So it gets into Hard Off. Hard Offs are basically waste disposal facilities. That's what they're designed to be. Mm-hmm. In fact, there are very sad stories of some of the bigger Hard Offs would have these like, high grade like the trash machines that are just decided, you would just throw things in them. It's a masher and just breaks everything down. Footage of like guys just throwing stacks of Famicoms in those things and it just destroys them all. Industrial grade like, trash compactors, essentially. Now, For years, that was all it was. And so you would go into a hard off, and typically you would not see that many Japanese people in there. So you'd see people destroying all this stuff and whatever, and then you go into the store as gaijin, which is the term for foreigner, basically.
Tourists.
Yeah, well, outside person would be more literal. So baka gaijin, if you ever hear that while you're over there, they're calling you stupid.
Stupid. You don't belong here.
Stupid foreigner, basically, is what that means. So I refer to that for myself all the time. But anyway, so you would go in there, and basically everything was dirt cheap because they just wanted it gone. That was all it ever was. It's like, it's here as a legal way of disposing stuff, but it's of no value to our population. But they also didn't really understand why tourists would want it. So they always just thought you were an idiot if you were actually buying this stuff, hence baka gaijin. Like, only a stupid foreigner would want this. So in the earliest years of this, you'll find that a lot of videos that came out around the beginning of, like, maybe, I don't know, 10 years ago, a lot of the video footage was really incognito. It's just kind of hidden away because they didn't want you filming in there. Because from the Japanese perspective, you're only doing that to cause us trouble.
Right.
If we deny you doing that, there's no trouble that's going to come with this. But you filming it, something potentially bad, they didn't understand the advertising value of that.
Right.
So what started changing is a couple of YouTubers, such as myself and others, we would get away with it through what you call gaijin benefits, where it's, you know so little about the culture, you don't understand that you're breaking a rule. And therefore, they didn't want to deal with you because you're just some dumb white guy who doesn't understand. Just let him film his dumb thing, and once he gets out of here, he'll never.
He'll be gone soon.
He'll be gone soon.
Yeah.
But then he starts making videos, and then more tourists start coming in who are buying your stuff, and you're like, why are so many? And eventually, some of them figure this out. Now to the point where you go into hard off, it just says film. Okay, you'll like see signs like that everywhere.
Insane.
Yeah, you'll see that all the time. They're totally on board with it because they figured that one out.
Right.
And I understood that because I was traveling with some of my buddies over there, and they could speak Japanese, and they would talk to people running it. They're like, yeah, that's how they knew the story, because they were like, that was a routine thing. No, and now, yes, absolutely, because we were making money. But really, where all this goes to a head is in the pandemic. So during the pandemic, Japan was hardcore about closing down the country. Like, nobody was allowed in short of diplomats and essential U.S. military. Those are the only people that could get in there. Even to the point where their own citizens, they're like, if you leave for any reason, you're denied entry to return. So nobody was leaving. So anyway, during that, all these stores had to figure out how to stay in business. And somebody at Hard Off had the idea, like, I think the gaijin like our stuff. Why don't we try this online thing and see what they think of it? Because I'm not kidding when I say that that's kind of a relatively new concept there. I mean, a few years ago, going to Japan, your average Japanese person didn't own a PC yet.
Right.
We think of them as like super technocracy because they make all the cool stuff, but a lot of them don't actually own a lot of that stuff. But I mean, that's changing a bit. They're more into smartphones and everything. But they recognized for the first time that there was a market for all their stuff online. It just wasn't their own country. It all had to be shipped out to North America or shipped out to Europe, etc. And then with that, a lot of the inventory started going down and prices started going up. And yeah.
And that's the way of it.
That's the way of it. And to the point where Surigaya specialty shops and Hard Off started advertising to the locals, being like, bring us your stuff. We need more stuff.
Yeah, that's
and then these
insane
people were
how that happened.
Yeah, it's just, but I was partially responsible for the beginning of that, probably partially because of their video policies. In fact, I think Hard Off follows me on Twitter. I know the CEO does. But one of the guys in my Discord, shout out to him, Joseph the Hard Off Destroyer, is an official ambassador for Hard Off.
Wow.
Oh, you want to talk accidental career? I created Joseph the Hard Off Destroyer. Yeah, he's a mascot for Hard Off, and I created him. Here's a story for you. And this is why this can happen to anyone. I was walking down the street in Japan. All right, just some suburban-like area. And I was just filming bits going, oh, we're going to our next one. And out of nowhere, as soon as I'm done filming, this car just screeches. And a guy runs at me and starts saying, and he said my last name wrong. He starts going, Adam Koralik? And I was like, suddenly I'm hearing English. And then I'm hearing my own name. And I'm like, what's going on? And just this white dude running at me. And he's like, oh my God, are you Adam Koralik? And I'm like, Koralik, but yeah. And he's like, oh, big fan. I'm like, not big enough to know my name.
Yeah.
But he's a friend, it's fine. And so we were just chit-chatting back and forth. And so we were like, let's hang out. And I created this persona of him as the Hard Off guy because he liked going to Hard Offs all the time. To the point where he is now an official ambassador for it.
Wow.
All just because he met me randomly on the street. And it was just like, I told him, like, push the Hard Off thing. You know, take photos of yourself in front of Hard Offs with your hats. Hard Off recognized him. They gave him some merch, and he's like featured on their website as a content
He's
creator.
like Hard Off Man.
Yeah, because he's also a white dude who lives in Japan, which is kind of rare for them to have as a mascot, and that's more interesting. My point is, and this I'm trying to teach you this as well, is just go out and do something interesting, be different, be creative, and be confident. Confident is absolutely key in this type of thing.
Very interesting, Adam Koralik.
Thank you.
I appreciate you doing
Travis Bowman.
Travis Bowman, yeah.
Travis Bowman.
Yeah. I would like to go to Japan, but it's for all the wrong reasons. I would go just to be one of those guys to buy stuff and bring it home.
That's not a wrong reason.
Yeah.
A wrong reason would be like, I'm there for the red light districts or something.
No, obviously not that. I would like to get out there and play music in Japan because my thing is primarily video game.
I know for a guy for you to talk to.
Okay.
There's
that would be awesome.
Tom the Soul Butcher. He's in my Discord as well. He goes there to play music.
Okay. Well, I'll have to get in touch with him because that's
I told you to be more active in my Discord, but you're just like, you know what, I'm just going to give you the middle finger. Not do it.
Well.
He's got 2 accounts in my Discord, doesn't use either of them.
I don't know where the first one came from, but the other one is me. But I think that's really interesting. I would love that opportunity to get out there, to go to Japan to play music. That's like bucket list
Actually,
item.
I know 2 people that do that. My buddy Brian in Guam does that.
Well,
his band, Fat Tofu. Go listen to it.
Fat Tofu. Yeah, I'll have to check that out too.
They perform in Japan regularly.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm weird enough. I'm tall enough and I'm strange enough looking. Yeah, gaijin. And I'm different enough.
You look like a young George Lucas.
Thank you.
No, for real, he does, doesn't he? Like with the hair kind of spiking out here, he's got the beard and the glasses. He just looks like young George Lucas.
Fun fact. I was in a bar one time playing music in between, breaks and stuff like that, and I was wearing a flannel shirt with the glasses, and I did have a gentleman come up to me and hit on me and tell me that exact same fact, that I look exactly like George Lucas.
I apologize. I'm not hitting on you.
I appreciate that. But it's nice of him, but yeah, it was really, really uncomfortable after that. You are like one of the world's biggest Dreamcast collectors. You've got freaking everything. There's very little things that you have.
There is a bigger one. Like that's not like me being like full of myself. I'm actually asking. All right, so here's how I would define it. I have the full North American set. Whatever. I've seen people do that. I have all the European exclusives.
Yes.
I have all of the Japanese exclusives. I have all the indie releases. I have many variants of the consoles globally. So, is there one? I don't know. If you can match that, I'm genuinely curious. Anybody out there? Because I've been looking for that other person, but they don't exist. Or they're very quiet.
You're just trying to snuff out your competitions, what it is.
No, I already won.
Yeah, but I've seen all of your videos where you pretty much go over everything, and it is a lot to the point to, like you said, you're really just occasionally you get a demo disc every now and again, and of course new releases that will come out from indie developers and stuff like that too. It must be kind of lonely up there at the top.
Yeah, right? No, it's not that bad. There's a new one coming out called Soviet Borgs. I'm actually going to do the voiceover for that one.
Sweet, sweet, that's awesome.
They play Russian stereotype. that was their guys from Spain, and they were just like, give us your most offensive Russian possible. I was like, okay, he's very drunk Russian. Okay, you get ready, battle and drink vodka. That's what they wanted. Yeah. I was like, all right.
That's awesome. So, yeah, that's interesting, too. Like, you're doing voiceover work as well.
Oh, yeah, we didn't even talk about that.
We didn't even talk about that.
Too.
So, which came first? The opportunities of doing the retro video game stuff?
All retro video game stuff. Everything came from there. Okay. Because basically, how do I put this? My YouTube channel is more like a business card. It's more like, here's all the stuff he's got some credibility on, and let's see what paths go from that. And typically, it goes pretty well. When it comes to working with groups like Sega or whatever, it was like, yeah, we need him for this one purpose, but then we didn't realize he was multifaceted in other arenas that we weren't prepared for. Namely, you can do maybe voice acting, you can do additional marketing, you're very travel cohesive, you're very supportive, you don't break NDAs, like all these things that turned out to be more useful than you would think. And so when it comes to voiceover stuff, a lot of that was very random. Like I did a voiceover for a Magic the Gathering game called Mana Strike. You seem like you like Magic. You seem like that type.
No, sir.
Oh, good.
No, sir, I'm not.
That's actually how I got the gig. So when they were doing Shenmue 3, I met up with the voice director of Shenmue 3 like after the game was basically done. And we just hung out, and he liked me, and he was like, do you ever play like Magic the Gathering? And I was like, no, not at all. He's like, okay, good. There's a game I'm working on. I want you to do the voiceover. And good, because he didn't want a nerd in there. He's like, actually, Soren would never say that.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, I want clay that I can mold.
Mold.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and I was like, all right, perfect. So we did, some of that. And then other ones just came about just because people were like, yeah, I like your voice, or I like hanging with you, and I think it'd be a fun contribution to this, like that. I'm also doing one now called Legends of Boom, which stars Tim Kitzrow. Tim Kitzrow, you guys all know, he is the guy who is the NBA Jam voice. From downtown, boom shakalaka, he's on fire. That's Tim Kitzrow. He's a friend of mine, and he's making a new game where he's like an announcer, and he's a puppet. So I'm going to be in the game as a puppet, playing myself.
I've seen that puppet of you.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's cool.
I
It's
get
really
to be
cool.
that, but apparently, so I was talking more to the devs, and they were like, yeah, I think we want to do more with you outside of just you playing yourself. Because, like, I know we were goofing around in the car last night with Schwarzenegger. I'm going to do, like, an Arnold. Like,
Yeah.
Arnold doing commentary. We're playing the game now. But mine was more of I wanted Arnold who's kind of, you have, like, that commando version of Arnold where everything's, like, super serious, but you put it into things that aren't important, like, yes, I'm going to save 10% on my car, I refinanced, it's also good, it's a very good deal. I want him to be like Arnold if he just had a boring life, but he's trying to hype up his own boring life.
That's infinitely more interesting.
Yeah, so we'll see. I know we were talking about, Bill Clinton. Yeah, we'll see. There's whatever we end up doing on that, that's up to the dev team, but stuff like that just kind of, as I said, you just kind of fall into it.
Yeah.
But get out there and just kind of show off your talents, make connections, make friends. I can't stress this enough. Remember people's names. That's important. Yeah. But also, one thing that I think happened to me kind of accidentally was because I travel so much, I kind of get used to all these different places. And it's much easier to connect to people and have social interaction and relate to people when you've kind of lived a little bit of their life. So, like, if I had never met you before.
Right.
But I knew enough about Little Rock, having been there a few times, that we could immediately connect. Like, I think the second I sat in your car, I was like, what up, bitch? And you were like, what up, slut? It took 2 seconds to link, because you just kind of already have a familiarity based on common experience.
Right.
And traveling, I feel, really helps with that. Just because then you can relate to people around you. And I don't do that as any sort of intentional thing. It's just kind of, something we can talk about.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, one fascinating thing about you that I did not know was just how nonchalant you are about your schedule, and it's just like, whatever, I'll just do it. So, for example, like I was reaching out to you, being like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. We're all set, and you're like, yeah, I haven't exactly booked my flight yet. I'll do that tomorrow. And tomorrow was like
my return flight yet.
Yeah, exactly, and that's fascinating to me too, because I'm so not that person. It's like I have to have that out in front of me.
I can't function like that.
But
to me, that's just a shackle that tells me I have to do something in a specific time frame. Now, I have the benefit of being self-employed, so I completely control my own schedule. So if my boss says no, it's because I said no to me.
Exactly.
So it's entirely up to me when I do something, where I do it, and how I do it, etc. And that's a freedom you cannot buy. So to put shackles onto it by being like, this is my specific dates, I don't usually do that unless it's for someone else's schedule.
Right.
Namely, if it's a convention or it's an event, and they're like, here's our hard dates that you need to be there for. That's fine. Obviously, I'll work within that parameter. This coming down here was completely voluntary, so I was like, I don't know, whatever flight's available when I feel like going, etc.
Exactly.
And relatively, we penciled in a schedule, and it was like, okay, yeah, well, I see no reason that won't work. But as we had talked about earlier, the last week when I was supposed to come here on my own before knowing you, that got canceled just due to needing to finish a different video. That's why you don't book anything right away, because you don't know what kind of random stuff's going to come up.
Exactly, yeah. Well, I ask you that question to sort of end with this one and put you on the spot and see if you can.
Over. He doesn't want to talk anymore.
I don't want to talk to you anymore.
That's fine.
But to kind of close it out, I'm curious how you will answer this question, if you even can, based on what you just said. But I'm really curious to know, with your knowledge of YouTube and what you've seen, what to do, what not to do, the mistakes that you've potentially made versus things that you've done exceptionally right. Where do you think your channel is going to be in the future? How do you see that?
Depends on how long I live. He's seen me eat. It's not. I don't have a lot of time left. So what I basically do is I front load as much content as possible. When I'm home and I have the opportunity to work, I'll make tons and tons of videos and just let them roll out accordingly. So that would be kind of interesting because if I just drop dead, at least you guys get videos for another month or two.
Right.
So that's
exactly.
like cool, like how Dr. Seuss kept releasing new books after he died because they were unfinished ones. That's basically what I'm going for. I want to be Dr. Seuss.
Cool. That's cool. I mean, I do it for the creativity. It's an outlet for me to be super.
Oh, he's giving
super
a real
creative.
answer.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just throwing me under the bus.
So as long as I can keep doing that and it's still fun and it's a creative outlet, then I'm going to do it.
In all seriousness, you're basically asking what I intend to do with channels is going forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the main channel, which is the video game stuff, is just going to continue to be whatever opportunities kind of throw my way. The thing with my channel is there's a couple of videos that are very finite, that have very specific plans. Like there's always going to be a podcast at the end of every month. There's always going to be an episode of Playload every month, which is my pickups show. Everything else is kind of whatever happens. I have not once in maybe the better part of the last 10, 12 years at any point sat down and be like, I don't have a video for this week. I need to come up with something. I better go grab something. I don't know what to do. Something always just kind of happens where it's like somebody sends you a controller you need to review. You're like, all right, whatever, that's a video. I can do that.
Yeah.
Or it's like, well, I was just in Little Rock and we went to a bunch of game stores. I should probably put that into a video and then,
Right.
you know, we'll show that. Like that's usually how it goes. In the case of my travel channel, it's very much like that because these are all the places I was going for X, Y, and Z reason. Come along and enjoy the journey with me, and you guys can see what's going on there. I do wish that channel did better as far as numbers, but I don't really, to be honest, I don't really care because it's kind of the thing I would do if I was retired. And for me, it's just kind of fun. It's like, I guess what I would say is a travel channel is stuff I'm already doing. It's your option to go ahead and get something out of it.
Right.
And some people do, some people don't, and that's totally fine. The video game stuff is more like videos I would want to watch, but nobody covered it. And the travel channel stuff's here's what's going on in my day and enjoy it if you want to.
Right.
Two kind of different philosophies, and I intend to kind of stick with both. Although with the case of the travel channel, there's some very big videos I'm working on that required going to a lot of very specific destinations, and those are just like creatively fun that keep you going forward. Because the last thing you want to do, dude, is get burned out being like, oh good, I have to make another cover of the score for Hybrid Heaven, can't wait.
Yeah.
You don't want burnout.
No, definitely not.
And as soon as it starts feeling like a chore where you're actively like, I do not want to make this video, that's a sign that you probably shouldn't be because it's going to reflect in your work. You have to actually want to do it, or you have to be really good at convincing them that you don't hate it.
Right. Yeah. But I haven't reached that point yet. I still enjoy it, and you've pretty much got yourself set up with the flying and eating the travel channel, right? So you can still do it even after you don't, want to continue doing video game stuff. Maybe in the distant future.
Yeah.
When you're too old for it.
I'm already too old for all of it. Dude, your average YouTube career is like 5 years if you're lucky. I've been there for 15. Like I am really pushing it.
You are.
Yeah, but the only reason I'm still around is because it's slow growth. Sorry. A slow birth would hurt.
Yes, it would.
But slow growth is, and that's fine because when it comes to YouTube, if you want to do retro video games, you really only have two choices. Make content you would be proud of or make news reviews. That's it. Those are your options.
Yep.
News reviews you will get very big, but your career will end after about 3 years because people aren't attached to you. They're attached to whatever the subject is you're talking about. Right. And as soon as somebody else comes along that's got a new, dangly way of attracting them, they'll all go over to that. And then you get pigeonholed into a very specific niche. I'm not going to name any names, but there are content creators who decide, I blew up on this one thing. That's all I'm going to talk about. And I'm just like, I don't want that kind of burden. I want to be able to kind of do whatever. And I don't really care that it never got to like 1 million subs or anything. If that's your goal, and I've sat down with some content creators who I will not name, who I'm asking like, why do you want to be a YouTuber? Why do you want to do this? And the responses you get are very telling. If they respond with something like, well, I want to be rich, famous, and have 1 million subs. You go like,
yeah.
Okay, you're not going to make it. You're not built for this at all.
Right.
So you need to give a real answer. Somebody who's passionate about something. Because I can almost guarantee you Travis did not get into this when he sat down. He's like, what would be cool is if I just got rich and famous and had 1 million subs. How would you do that? No, I don't know. That's just what I'm going to do. I'm going to be rich and famous. Okay.
I mean,
this isn't the end of the Muppet movie. This doesn't work like that.
No,
so,
that would be cool, but ultimately that's not.
Yeah, that's
not why.
That's something that goes along with it through success.
Exactly.
That comes. I can almost guarantee that the reason Travis got into this is that he wanted to express his art and possibly benefit from it. But he wanted to be able to show the world, here's what I'm capable of doing, and here's why I think you'll enjoy it. And here's why nobody else did it, because only I could.
Yeah. That's pretty darn good, man. That's pretty good. No, I just I really wanted to do this interview with you because I can see that level of, you being genuine, and you're just a dude that's talking about stuff that he likes, and that's like self-evident. And I can see that in myself, and I'm very inspired by that because it's like I'm just a dude that's doing shit that he likes, And some people are starting to pick up on that, and I'm starting to get a decent following of people that are really appreciative of what I do, and I think that's really cool. It is really cool that it happens like that,
Yeah, I know why he really wants to do this video. Okay? I've given him the opportunity. I know where it is. I know why he's doing it. He just hasn't done it yet.
Yes. It's because I really...
There it is.
I want to talk about Hybrid Heaven. I really want to talk about Hybrid Heaven. We've heard all about this game. Shenmue, 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 Shenmue. And then the person that calls it Shenmue. Shenmue.
Shenmue.
Shenmue 4, we need Shenmue 4, we need Shenmue 4. Yeah, that's a great game. It's a super solid game, and it's wonderful.
Everybody already knows that.
Everybody already knows that.
Best one ever.
Everybody already knows that.
You're an idiot.
Yes, but nobody knows about this. And
that's for good
it
reason.
disturbs me. It really does disturb me because it's a great game. And it's like nobody ever played it. And we've all had those games before, right? Hybrid Heaven, I'm trying to get you to play it.
Oh, yeah,
I'm trying to tell you that you should play it. And I wish that you would, because
the box has a hole in it.
It does, but I got a discount as a result. For some reason, somebody took the barcode out of it for some sort of something. I don't remember what, but it's a great game. Fantastic game.
Now, there is a subset of collectors you don't hear much from. The guys who just keep SKU numbers from N64 box sets.
Yeah.
Those guys are weird.
Well, to be honest, I didn't care. It's got everything in the box, and that's all that matters. But seriously, one of my favorite games of all time, Hybrid Heaven.
This whole weekend has been nothing but Hybrid Heaven.
Hybrid Heaven. Hybrid Heaven.
Never shuts up.
But now you know how that feels with this. You know exactly how that feels.
No, because I make a video that you have to click on.
That's correct.
Here, I get up, he's like, have you heard the good word of Hybrid Heaven today? If you want to ascend to Hybrid Heaven, you must hear the good word.
And you'll play it. One day you'll play it.
It's like, oh my God. He's a Jehovah's Witness for Hybrid Heaven.
That's right. That's right. Well,
Travis's Witness.
Travis's Witness for Hybrid Heaven. That's right.
Is there a main character that you could call that after?
No.
Does this game have a main character?
Yeah, and he's generically
Diaz?
called Johnny Slater.
Johnny Slater.
The Diaz thing is a whole other situation.
Right, so a Slater's Witness?
Yes, Slater's Witness.
See, Slater's Witness sounds like a Saved by the Bell character.
Yeah.
Because of Slater.
Dude, thanks for just randomly being like, yeah, I'll come to your house and hang out, because that's exactly what happened. I really appreciate it. We had a lot of fun doing the video game pickups, and you got some good video stuff out of it, so that's really good too. And I'd like to do this again sometime in the future.
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
Maybe if Rick does that con again next year.
Yeah, maybe we could do that together too. So try in different places.
With that
That's
channel,
interesting.
so obviously gamers are very insular. I'm kind of an extrovert, so it's kind of unique.
Yeah.
But also because I get to go to all these places, I try to give people that experience so they can be like, hey, I'm never going to go there. This is what it looks like. Some of the videos that do the best are the most obscure places. Like I've done Guam a few times because I've been there like 6 times, Saipan a few times. These are parts of the U.S. out in the Pacific Ocean.
Right.
Stuff like that. People don't really get that opportunity to go, and I just want to show it to them and be like, look, you can do that. But then also you get those people, and I see this all the time. I'm not trying to toot my own horn here. This is one of those things that was accidental, but it's nice. You get people who watch these videos, and then they tell me like, man, I've always been terrified of like leaving my town, but I see you do this so casually, and it just inspired me. So for the first time in my life, like I'm gonna get a flight and I'm going down to, people like something not even that hard. Like I'm going to Texas for the first time, or I'm going up to New York for the first, or whatever it is. The idea is, to me, you get one life, and it would really suck to spend it like a house cat, stuck inside, never seeing that rest of that world. You got a big planet, especially if you're in the United States. You have every type of topography, every type of geography, every type of, option. You can have beaches, you can have mountains, you can have snow, you can have tropical paradise. We have everything. Go out and see it. A lot of wars were fought so that you would have access to a beach whenever you want it. Go use it.
Yeah. Good words to live by, Adam Koralik.
I guess.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Hopefully.
Seriously, dude, you're very inspiring. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
No.
All right, that's good. That's very good. Okay.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Jackass.